Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. So, we are gathered here today for the webinar on KTern 101, Managing an SAP S4HANA Migration Project. My name is Akhilesh. I belong to the KTern team, and I have Mr. Vignesh Bharani here with me. He is the product engineer for KTern, and he will be guiding you to the entire webinar today. He'll start off with a presentation and move on to a product demo so that you get a full understanding of what the capabilities of KTern are for project management. And we do have interesting polls during the webinar. We hope you'll be an active part of them. And without further ado, let me hand it off to Vignesh so that he can take up the webinar. Over to you, Vignesh.
Thanks a lot, Akhilesh. And hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, one and all. It's a pleasure to have you all in here for yet another webinar on managing an SAP S4HANA project with KTern. So the agenda for today would be to understand the S4 conversion path and its challenges, a little recap on the previous webinars which we have done about KTern, since because KTern is not just more on the management part, but an all-in-one suite which covers many automation capabilities. Followed by a KTern overview and how KTern can help in managing an S4HANA conversion, and why KTern could be the project management suite for any transition project per se, followed by an obvious application demo. So when we talk of S4 conversions, especially, we are talking about something which will transform a digital business from the current ECC to the S4 HANA. Uh, Many people think that S4 HANA would be the destiny, but to me, S4 HANA is the beginning of a digital transformation dream which the customer aspires for. So when we talk about S4HANA, we are talking about changes functionally, technically, as well as technologically. And this disruption which S4HANA brings in the form of an entire application data structure changes, the OLTP and OLAP coming together, the traditional normalized way of storages has been broken down with denormalized way of storing data. The examples I can think of is the ACDOCA table, which has a denormalized way of storages. And all these disruptions actually could disrupt a business. And for that to be effectively handled, we need a careful planning and a controlled execution. So here in the screen, you can see the challenges which, based on the survey we took, we understand the major challenge arises when it comes to the custom code management, followed by the testing management, uh, the business downtimes, data management, and the end user training. But beyond all of it, one thing that remains constant across the phases, because when it comes to S4HANA transitions, we are talking about different buzzwords at the different phases of the project. During Discover, it will only be about the impact S4HANA has, the effort required, and the business value of it. While in Prepare, it would be identifying the stakeholders and having them all grouped in together. In Explore, it would be the custom code remediation and the adaptation part. While in Realize, we talk about the testing, and Deploy would be more on the data management and the cutover plan and the script running. So while these happen in a phased out manner, there is one main thing which is constant and common across these phases, which is nothing but the timeline adherence, the governance, the phase closures, the deliverables, and the project health. So let's see what KTern has got to offer for us in the furthermore slides. Since because I touched upon the automation capabilities and the custom code management, we have done previous webinars on the business value of S4HANA and how KTern as an intelligent suite can help you understand the business value and the impact of your current ECC system when it is transformed into a S4HANA system. So that is about an S4HANA assessment using KTern, where we will be able to connect to your system remotely without any OSS nodes or plugins, and KTern will come up with an intelligent, insightful analysis and results which can help you take better decisions on your path to S4HANA. Maybe it could be a greenfield migration or maybe a brownfield as well. So all these kinds of information will be provided to you at the end of an S4HANA assessment using KTern. And there was the other webinar which had the most interest for the SAP audience, which is the test suite. Since because we are talking about the hardest and probably the longest part in any SAP project per se, because we'll be dealing with multiple test cycles, multiple stakeholders at the multiple different points of time. And when it is more specific, when we talk about SAP conversions, we could be dealing with multiple systems in a single landscape, having multiple stakeholders test us the same test case at different points of time. So these kinds of complexities, and obviously when it comes to testing, it will not be the system integrator who actually does the testing part, but somebody outside the system, somebody more from the customer side or the test engineering teams. So how is it that KTern can help you manage your test cycles or your test executions were covered during this webinar. And obviously the custom code management and the remediations. When we talk of conversions, the first thing which anyone thinks of is the impact of the custom code objects which the customer would have invested over the period of years. Because the absolute wealth of any ECC customer is their customizations. Because we do know or in no standard function can actually cover entire business processes across the globe, and it is actually the power of ECC to allow customizations which get convoluted across modules and maybe across other silo or satellite systems as well. So while this happens, we got to make sure their investment over maybe a decade or two is moved as is from the ECC system to the S4HANA system. But that's not the case, since because S4HANA is a revolutionary product by itself, bringing in things that simplifies everything. So how is it that we will handle these custom code remediations or the adaptations? That's when we built the custom code management suite, which will take care of the automatic custom code remediation. And that's exactly what was covered as part of the previous webinar. So here I present to you guys KTern, an all-in-one 12-module suite, which will help you automate, control, govern, and realize your S4HANA dream in a breeze. Yes, I do say that since because I'm presenting to you something which is all in one. You don't have to go from this particular suite to any other silo systems. Right from the start of the project, the discover phase, up until the prepare phase, through the run, deploy phase, and to the run phase, you'll be able to manage everything in a single environment. And the X factor would be this product was designed by people who know project execution, who understand SAP environment, a pool of SAP veterans gathered together to have this product built and designed. And the next thing would be the groundbreaking feature, which is what we call as HANApedia. As for HANA plus Wikipedia together, we coined the term HANApedia. This is a data reinforced engine algorithm which we built on cloud so that this will enable anyone from the ECC, converting from ECC to S4HANA, be it the system integrator or as well as the customer, to have a smoother journey by providing insights from its deep learning engine. And obviously, all of it runs on top of something we call as the project management framework, since because any decision or any activity relating to a particular project goes through this particular framework, triggering the workflows, triggering the notifications, the approvals, the sign-offs, and the hierarchical information that has to be shared across the trees or up until the top node. So that's exactly how KTern works. To accommodate all of these, here's the features or the modules, I would say, which has been built for KTern. The impact analysis, which talks about your business value and the impact ECC will go through when it moves into the S4HANA system. The roadmap guide, which will be more on understanding the digital transformation plan for the current system. Okay, I'm into S4, what next? Answers for that. The other thing would be the effort estimation, because we do know moving to S4HANA is not just a mere technical upgrade. We are talking about a data-driven, functionally affecting transformation project. So we got to deal with multiple stakeholder decisions and business decisions to be taken. So KTern helps you understand the effort required for this project to take place. And the custom code management, which talks about remediation of custom codes, the test suite, which will deal with the test management, the test cycles, the test plans, and the test scenarios, while the data management will be about managing your data inconsistencies or your master data inconsistencies, and even validation of these data after you go into your S4HANA system, because there is a data model change and your structure changes. You got to make sure whatever present in your system is still present as is. And like I said, all these juxtapose on the project management framework. And we have the license audit and optimization, which will take care of your initial TCO savings by identifying unused licenses or inactive users. And for all these to happen, for all these automation features to happen, KTern might have to connect to your system, will have to connect to your system. And that is established through the landscape and system transformation, which also talks about the transport request management and version mismatches across the transport requests. And obviously, when we talk of S4HANA, we should definitely talk about business processes. Yes, we do cover that as part of the business process optimization. And the best thing, the training launchpad. Since because we are talking of S4HANA, which is transforming a business, which means a change management piggybacks on this particular project, which means there is a complete user experience change in the form of Fiori, and we have some business decision changes, business workarounds to happen. So a change management strategy has to happen. So the training launchpad will be helpful for that. And the issue tracking and management, which is something any project might have to have, because we are dealing with a heavily loaded ECC system, which has been in place for almost a decade or two, and that is to be converted. So we might have to expect the bursts, so we handle them through the issue tracking and management. So coming to the point, we were talking about the project management and the project governance. So these are the challenges which we identified in a typical S4HANA project, or even an SAP project per se. Uh, the first thing would be the scope creeps that happen during a project execution, which leads up to frequent delays, and the deliverables get incompleted. So tracking them plays a huge role, because we are talking of something, it is not a mere software application project, but something which will drive business that is making billions globally. So we got to make sure those documentations and the phase closures happen on time, so that we can expect timely go live dates. The other thing would be lack of communication, since because we are talking about different work streams in here: the functional team, the technical team, the infra team, the data migration team, the business end user team, the IT SME team, the project governance team, the steering committee team. So all these teams have their own roles to play, and their own responsibilities when it comes to the project. But all these teams combined together forms the success of the project. So we got to take care of the communication between these teams. The other thing would be the ineffective project management office, or the governance. So the major identifiers for a project going overboard or going out of track would be the risk identification mechanisms, which have to be properly in place so that the project execution is smoother. So an effective project management office is a need too. And we need to talk about the rigid leadership too, because we are talking about something which will transform a business, like I said before. And this has to happen through multiple phase approvals or workflows or decisions taken at different levels of the enterprise. So we are talking about rigid, if in case we are dealing with a rigid leadership team, we could be having multiple stakeholding information or multiple decision points at hold at different levels of the hierarchy. So we got to take care of that as well. The other thing would be silo business processes or tools, because typically when you take care of a business process, we are dealing with multiple tools or multiple executions. And of all these combined together, the major thing would be the cost overloading or the project overloading, which will result in overloading of resources, and which in turn means we are dealing with costs. So, guys, to make the webinar much more interesting, we have a poll coming up, which will be flashed to you on the screen right now. The question is, how many tools do you incorporate to manage your projects? One to two, two to four, or more than four? Since because we are talking about task management in the form of Excel sheets, we have Microsoft planners to do that, and the communications happen through the mail protocols, and the chat happens through a silo Slack channel or a WhatsApp channel per se. And we have the document storages in the form of Dropbox, Google Drive, or SharePoint drives. So yeah. So how many tools do you generally incorporate for this to happen? Mm-hmm. The results look interesting. Some more time, we might be getting at the results. Great, interesting answers. Looks like majority of you guys answered that you incorporate around 2 to 4 tools, and that's exactly what we have seen based on the market research done so far while building this application. So when you talk of a general project management tool, we gotta think about having everything in one place, and that's how the productivity or the collaboration or the effectiveness of the project execution gets increased. We are talking about digitization of unstructured data information collected during the execution, because we are dealing with multiple files, multiple communications, bulks and tons of mails and messages going across the teams. So all these carry vital information about the health of the project. So how is it that KTern helps you do that? We have the task planning and management. We deal with the collaboration platform. We have the project insights and analytics, which is the most interesting part, which I would cover as part of application demo. And we got to take care of the short wins in the form of milestones and your KPIs. The other thing would be the user management or managing of your parallel work streams or your horizontal work streams, like your functional team, your data management team, your testing team. And in the end, you got to have a documentation for you which helps you in the audit purposes. Every key business decision, every key activity has to be recorded so that they prove vital when it comes for the audit purpose. So project documentation framework has to be in place, and the meeting applications or the meeting notes framework, since because these are the ones which decide the flow of a project. So you got to make sure wherever you do, you have them uh, in a more structured manner, but not just an unstructured way of a notepad message or a wordpad message. And obviously, we are talking about time and resources in here. So I might have to say that the project scheduling also plays a major role. And while this happens, so do you guys think the traditional project management tools can help manage SAP projects? Because I've been talking about the challenges which were more specific for SAP project executions, like tightened hierarchical leadership teams where the business stakeholder decisions can go beyond deadlines or beyond timelines at different levels of an enterprise. So these kinds of challenges need to be addressed. But do you guys think a traditional project management tool can help you manage them? So what do you guys think? Because we've got Jira, we've got Asana, and we've got Trello, which is more like a simplified task list management. Uh, on a large scale application like application execution like SAP, do they make the cut? Since because we are dealing with an agile framework or the Activate framework, which might not actually suit for uh, the applications like Jira or Asanas. So yes. Interesting answers, though most of them have said no. There are quite a few who have said yes, and I'm really glad you have found a tool which helps you do all of them in a single place. And a traditional project management tool can still make the cut for an SAP execution. So here I present to you the project management using KTern. Why? Uh, First thing, we are talking about SAP Activate methodology. That's a best practice recommended by SAP for any project execution when it comes to S4HANA. So we are talking about something which understands the SAP terms, the SAP knowledge, and the SAP framework. A project management tool which has been built on top of this SAP Activate framework. And that's exactly how you will have to run your project when you use KTern. You cannot have your custom plan. Of course, you can have custom plans, but they got to be in line or in sync with your Activate framework. That's how we run that. And the next thing would be we took up the Activate framework. We understood the potential this framework has got in terms of automation, and especially when it comes to SAP conversion projects. So we took the user stories which hold the highest value, like how I was talking about the custom code auto remediation and the test cycle management and the test auto executions, and we took them up and we started automating those user story points. That way, having a rigid project execution with the automation flavor. And the next thing would be capturing these business decisions, because when you talk of your simplification item checks during the impact analysis, we are dealing with changes of existing functionality, or maybe you could have changes which is not which for which there is no equivalent at all, and you are supposed to take a business decision to move on. So all these decision points hold key for the success of the project, since because it would be the business end user who uses the application and not the project execution team or the IT team. So these business decisions hold highest value point when it comes to an SAP project. And we've got something called the experience analysis and the operational analysis. So we understood the fact that for a project execution, one object item can have an impact on another object item. The best example I could think of is the aging process of a task or an issue, which directly affects the project health parameter. One different one totally different parameter affects a totally different other parameter. The experience analysis and the operational analysis, we'll be covering that soon too. And exactly what any traditional project planning management tool has: the timely phase closure documents, your planners, your sign off hierarchy, and your scheduling mechanisms. And the next thing would be to bring in everyone on single platform, so that the system integrators and the customers and the business users are in a single place, discussing on a single objective and a single KPI to be achieved, which is nothing but S4HANA, and the path they're going to take, the risks they're going to watch to, the milestones which they're going to achieve together, the threads or the issues which they're going to collaborate together, a single collaborative platform. And yes, like I was talking about the digitization of unstructured data, these business decisions, these business points go in unstructured format in the form of hard copies of mails or messages. We take them up, we churn them up, and we make them into an insightful, useful information. So that's exactly what KTern has got when it comes to an S4HANA project management. So I think we can get started with the application demo right now. Yeah. As you can see here, I'm in my application, KTern application. And like I said, KTern, though it was built with the primary vision of automating S4 conversions, we understood the need for digitizing these unstructured data and making an execution which is much smoother, much governed, and in a controlled manner. So we started to roll out for multiple other projects like the Greenfield implementation as well as S4HANA public cloud implementations too. So let's start with one of the projects in here, which is SAP system conversion. So when I, as a user, log in into my system, I'll be presented with my workspace. So we understand a personalized workspace for a consultant boosts his approach or his attitude towards the project execution. And we understood the need for a personal workspace for anybody who uses a project management tool. And that's exactly what we have built in here in the form of workspace, which talks about work items in the project. Typically, KTern has three main work items, which would be tasks, issues, and test cases. And we provide trackers on the items which the user has created, the items which he has been assigned to, and items where he's just a participant. So this way, a clear, concise view, an analytical view on what he's dealing with in the project comes to his mind, and he can infer how he is progressing in this particular project. And it is not just about the assignments and timely closures of the work items. It is also important to understand the responsibility or the accountability he as an individual is contributing for the entire project itself. So a sense of belonging towards the entire project is what KTern helps the consultants achieve when it comes to using KTern for the project execution. So furthermore, I get to see the my work items, which is nothing but the list of items which we saw as an insight. The overdue items get listed for me, and the items which I might have to focus for today, and any announcements when it comes to the project comes up here, while the events can be captured in here, scheduled events, and a my work item tracker. So this is something which we have tried to do or achieve. So we believe in the gamification process where we try to allow the user to get an insight on his performance. So this talks about his target, and it also talks about his actuals as of one particular date, how much he has to complete and how much he has actually completed. More of a gamified approach of executing items, thus uh, reducing the stress or the increasing the accountability part of it. So while I'm in here, I'll head directly to the phase kernel, which I consider to be the heart of entire S4 execution, and of course for KTern as well. Like I said, it works on the SAP Activate methodology, split across different phases that discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run, with multiple subphases underneath them, each of them going up to n levels of tasks and activities. So as you complete items in here, you can see the progress increasing, and you get to have your subphases getting completed, which in turn affects your phase closures. So I can see here, as I complete and approve items, the progress bar increases with respect to the phase kernel. So like I was mentioning, so we didn't just take up the Activate framework and we started automating it. So we identified the potential, like I mentioned, and all you need to have is a connection to your system, which will help KTern connect to the system and have items executed for you. So maybe I can just execute an item, which is more of a enable button in the form of a launcher. Clicking on it will get me to the system information and have these information loaded for you. And this comes as part of the impact analysis. So I had to show a demonstration since because how the automation part works. So while we have the results, we couple this with the project framework. So any kind of business decision can happen from these results. All I have to simply do is that select an item which interests me, head over to the create new button. I can either create a task, create an issue or a test case, and even an event. An event could be a meeting on discussing what this poses as a threat for the current system or the current business. So I can create a task, and I can have a stakeholder assigned to it and who can possibly work on this particular task and have it executed for you. So moving on to the next screens. So that's about understanding the phase kernel. Then comes the modules kernel. Like I was talking about multiple different modules KTern possesses for the entire project execution. Each of the horizontal work streams can take up their modules and have their functionings happen. So when you go into the impact analysis, you will be having the list of task items specifically for the impact analysis or the value realizations. And clicking on this would get me the task drawer or the task information, which I can probably make use of to have the items executed for me. Yes, I will be covering these attributes and the project attributes a task drawer possesses when it comes to KTern. So let's head back to the workspace. When it comes to the project management or the project governance, we have built different attributes which helps you at different points of time. So let's start with the obvious thing, the reporting and the dashboard methodology. Here I can see the list of project activities, which talks about an insightful information on the status items and how they look like for the tasks and for the issues as well. So I can drill down into phases or the subphase even. So getting me into a phase and then a subphase or even a stakeholder. So this way, I'll be able to have a clear tracker and clear organized way of the reporting mechanisms, thereby allowing me to identify as a project user or the project member to know the stakeholders. And it also gets me the top 5 users with the total number of tasks and the overdue tasks. Looks like this project is going way overboard. And the furthermore information I carry is a work item tracker. So here's where things get interesting. For you to understand if the project is moving the right way, you gotta have to look at this work item tracker. So KTern understands the need of understanding the progress of the project. So we have built a work item tracker, which will keep track of every list of work item in the project, tagging it based on the time scale and providing you the insight based on top of it. So this talks about day-to-day changes with respect to the status for each of the work item, be it task, the issue, or the test case. You can have it for a week, for the month, and for the year too. And when we talk of projects, we obviously need to talk about the milestones and the quick wins. So KTern does help you with that too, followed by the overdue items, which is the critical factor for any project, and the events or the event management framework, which I was talking about, as well as the collaboration framework in the form of the forum. Followed by, we have the charter, which talks about the key objective of the entire project, followed by the organization structure. So this organization structure is built on top of the project management team, thus providing a work breakdown structure. So anyone who works in a project knows whom to approach for what, and who's their escalation matrix, and who are the top level hierarchy. That way, the information is clearly visible for the project users. So there's no miscommunications happening on who to approach for the roles or for the stakeholder identification, especially. So we can have the SAP team, the system integrator team, the testing team, as well as the customer team in one single place, in one single environment, so as to have a clear identification of the stakeholders per se. Because the functional consultant will obviously look for the business process head for the finance, right? So for that purpose. And the schedulers in the form of the planner, which will provide me the Gantt view of the entire project progress, the year-wise view, the month-wise view, and the week-wise view. I can drill down to the day-wise and drill down to the L3 level activity. which will get me information on any of those two. So I can also tag the scheduler part too. A task has to happen only after a task ends, so things like that. And we get to the milestone environment where we'll be able to create new milestones. So the milestone in KTern can be configured in two different ways. You can either have a billable milestone or even a non-billable milestone. So the billing milestone is something of your choice where because we understand SAP projects, we understand the need for the billing milestones and the daily flash reports. So for a system integrator to track the entire progress, the milestones have the highest value, right? So we enabled this particular feature so as to have these captured too. So for a billing milestone, you can give an amount if you wish and say the percentage of the value it carries on the entire project, and you can set the billing status too. So that is about the billing milestones or the non-billable milestones which we talk of. The next thing would be the user management engine. So KTern allows you to invite as many users as you want. It could be from the system integrator side, and they can have a role for them, and they can have an authorization level so that a clear visibility or maybe an authorized way of looking at things, because there could be things which you want somebody to view and someone else might not have to do that. So you can assign a team, and you can have the role for them, and you can select the reporting too, and that's how the work breakdown structure or the organization structure has been built upon. And you can also set the access level for them, because this is something which is key when it comes to an ERP project, right? So we were talking about all these analytics and the fuss, but let's get into the action. Let's talk about the project task execution and the work item executions. So here we have the list of task items, and I'll be able to filter it based on the statuses. And I can probably have a task item open for me, and this will open up a drawer, the task drawer, which we used to call, and this will carry different project attributes, starting from the project title, the description, the status, all these being common things. The interesting thing would be the phase, the work package, and the task L1. Because we understand any activity happening inside an SAP project will route up to one particular main task item suggested by SAP. So having it linked against these activities will help you have a clear track on what's happening and where. Then we have the stakeholder assignments, where you can have a task owner followed by multiple different participants who you can tag. So this is more like CCing somebody when you send out a mail. Then we have the project plan dates and the project end dates, and we have actually disabled the actual start dates and the end dates, since because I was talking about the experience and the operational data analysis, right? So we care more about this X data, because a task has been created, but when was it even started, or when was the work even started for that particular task? How long has it actually taken for somebody to work on that task? So that's when the actual start date gets captured. And how long has it taken for somebody to close this task? That's exactly how the actual end date is captured. So this probably tells the attitude of the entire project team and their experience uh, and the life cycle of one particular work item. Here in this case, this task item, what is the life cycle? When was it created? When was it acted upon? When was the closure date? And when is the approval date? So things like that show insights, and these traces of uncaptured, unstructured data hold lots and tons of potential for identifying or predicting the project progress. And we have the planned durations, and because when we talk of SAP executions, we are talking about global executions, maybe on-site or offshore. We got to take care of the time zone parameters too, right? So we have that too. And something related to an environment can be captured in here, where you can configure an SAP environment, so you have them in here for you. So the references, so here's where things get interesting. So I was talking about having a task, an activity linking up to one major task recommended by SAP. The same applies for the horizontal modules too. So any task you deal with, you'll be dealing with any of the SAP modules, be it the functional modules or the technical modules or the infra modules as well. And a business process, you can the activity can either be in the form of a rise of object, a transaction, an OSS node, or a transport request, or if in case you want to add something which is beyond whatever KTern has recommended for you, you can keep adding them as much you want. And we believe the one major unproductive thing that happens when it comes to the project execution would be tons and tons of mails created over a task or maybe something, some particular activity. So we bifurcate these communications or these discussions, and we have it pertaining to one single task. So I can probably have a discussion. So this will probably create a message for me, and whatever happens in here stays in here and nothing goes beyond that. And obviously the file management, so whatever I upload in here stays in here, and that would be reflected as part of the files explorer for me. So that's about a task creation and the task management. I will not be covering the issues or the test cases, since because they logically don't fall under the project management framework of KTern. So I would move on to the calendar, which is one interesting thing we've got. It talks about the daily calendar for the logged in user. So I'll be able to have a clear track on the number of items which I've been assigned to or which I might have to work upon. So thus providing the user with an insightful information on how his work month or his work week looks like, a week view, and a daily view as well. And when it comes to calendar, we talk about the events. So these events are the ones which could be a recurring stand-up meeting or something, a training event, or just another meeting against a discussion, right? So this will help me create an event where I can probably have an event created, the event date, the event time, and the participants can be loaded up in here. And yeah, once an event is created, I can probably get into an event and have the meeting notes taken up in here. So this lands me up in a meeting landing page, which will have the information captured while you created it. Here you can probably have a meeting notes taken during the meeting, and discussions obviously, and file uploads if any. It would probably be the MOMs, right? So you can have them in here. So what we have tried to do is that we are trying to eliminate this meeting notes in the form of a Word document by having them in KTern, thus gathering insight with a sentimental analysis with our natural language processing algorithms to understand what those meeting notes convey and how good they could be automatically transformed into action items or CTAs. Then the files explorer. So typically we understand there have been GBs or GBs of documents created during a project execution. So we understand the need for a better housekeeping framework for the file storages. So whatever task you execute and whatever file you upload end up in here, housekeeped for you automatically, and this will carry the information in here. So upload a file in here, you'll find it in the task information. Upload a file in a task information, you can find it in here. It's vice versa. The next thing would be the forums, where people can collaborate, have a chat, and have a discussion, which is more on the project perspective or the S4HANA perspective. They could probably go in and post in some comments or screenshots. So that way, whatever happens inside, and there's nothing beyond that. Yeah. So while I'm talking about all these, I was talking about the documentation framework, right? So KTern does come up with the documentations, the workflow engines, the mail triggers, and the notifications. So let me get into the documentation part, where I'll be showing you the document samples from KTern. This is a meeting document sample generated from KTern for you for the audit purposes, which you can take care or have it docked for you in your document servers after the project. And the best part in here is the retention, since because we are talking about S4HANA, which doesn't stop with this. We'll be having subsequent upgrades happening, subsequent feature packs getting released. So whatever information, whatever configuration data, whatever customizations you have done, or any business function executions taken up in this particular project will continue for those feature upgrades as well. So you have this retention part taken care using KTern, where you can probably refer to one particular business decision taken 2 years back, which KTern will still hold for you, which might probably help you avoid the searching for the knowledge transfer from the system integrator who executed it. So this is a meeting note sample followed by a task documentation sample, which will carry the entire history of the document, right from the task, what it is, who created it, when was it created, when was it executed, who was the owner, who were the participants, what were the discussions pertaining to this task, what are the files uploaded, what are the linked events with this task, what are the linked other work items, because you'll be able to link up other work items with with an activity too. So, and what are the possible results if in case it was automated by KTern, since because I'm talking about perform simplification item checks, and I had it run for you the previous before, so I can have the result embedded with this particular task documentation too. And so whatever you do, whatever you execute, whatever you assign, you will be given a mail notification that comes from KTern, which tells you what this is and who has assigned the task or something like that. So that way, KTern is something which helps you manage a project while automating it, while bringing everything in together, while managing this domino effect of having an issue which roots up to the project execution and things like that. Everything falls into one place, and a controlled environment which provides a clear visibility for the IT manager, or be it the system integrator or the customer. So thereby having a smoother project execution, thereby having a sweeter S4HANA transformation journey. I think I can probably end it in here. So let me go back to the presentation where we'll be telling you the value it holds for the project manager, especially. To summarize, we are talking about a controlled automated framework, timely phase closure mechanisms, which takes care of your sign-offs and your phase closure approvals. We are talking about the data analysis in the form of project monitoring and the project insights, and the experience data, obviously. To dwell furthermore on that, a task data based on the experience can affect the project health. So how can these be combined? The task and the project health can be combined together to form a prediction framework. The task and the project health can be combined to form a prescriptive framework. Prescriptive, like what I'm trying to say is what could happen because of this, because of what has happened. So insights like these hold key for project execution, since because KTern helps you with insights on the time spectrum or the time-based learning or the time-based statistical models. So we can have the questions, and before that, let's just have a poll which talks about: would you like to have a full tour to explore the other functionalities of KTern? Because what I covered would be the tip of the iceberg, since because there's a lot more to go deeper when it comes to the custom code management or the test suite, or even the discovery part, the impact analysis part, and the change management, the materiality value which you get as part of the business process analysis, things like that. So will you guys be interested in having a complete demo on the other features Skatin holds for you? Thanks, guys. And for those of you who missed to answer the poll, you can still communicate to us over mails. So where a portfolio manager, Akhil, can probably get in touch with you and have your questions answered. So let's head to the questions part now. So the question session has opened up for you guys, and you can be provided with the questions now. All right. The first question in here for me is, how can KTern connect to my system? So for KTern to connect to my system, I might have to go to the landscape management, where I'll be presented with different card options where I can probably configure a system. And this system is nothing but your GUI information. And this information, once entered, will create a card in here for me, a system in here for me. And all I have to do is download a KTern connector, which is a Java application built, which is of size just of around 4 to 5 MB, which gets installed in your desktop, not your system server or your landscape server, but your desktop. And once done, and once you enter your user credentials, you're good to go. And KTern will be able to do the magic for you by connecting the system and having the items as part of Activate executed for you. I hope I answered the question for you. So the other question is, can KTern communicate with other silo systems or other silo applications? Yes. We are trying to understand the need for communicating with other systems or other applications. So the integration points are available for you so that you can possibly have them connected and or integrated in the form of an API structure. Yes, we do provision that. Yeah. The other question is, what is the advantage of KTern recommended tasks list? So why would I call this is because we are talking of something which will transform a business, and there is a reason why SAP has recommended SAP Activate for the system integrators who are executing S4HANA projects. They hold key in identifying the business value of realizing the entire power of S4HANA. So, which is why we believe, and of course, the other thing would be the automation factor, which KTern provides you when you incorporate the KTern recommended task list. We don't restrict you with that because we do have a provision to upload your own list of task lists in the form of the MPP file or an Excel file even. So that is taken care. But the recommendation would be to have them executed automatically for you, because if there is something which automates things for you, that is something which is a boon, right? So yes. Okay, nice question. So, is it possible to request for change request or time controls? Yes, we do understood this fact because the change request or the risk registers are something which has to be taken care, and they are available as part of KTern. Maybe I couldn't cover it as part of this particular application demo or walkthrough, but it is still available in KTern, where you'll have the risk registers and as well as the change requests, which you can request to the customer so that they can probably take it or approve it or reject it based on their business needs. Yes, we do allow that. On what basis do you charge the users? Thanks for this question. This is something which I think can be taken as part of a different call, but we provide their usage. The pricing is based on the ERP users approach, so that I mean it starts around $10 per ERP user. So that is something which looks minimal to me, considering the volume or the TCO any SAP S4HANA project holds. And I think we can wrap the webinar. And it was great talking to you, and it was a pleasure as well. And thanks a lot for your time, guys. And see you guys soon. Bye bye. Have a nice day, everyone.